Okay, we are solving problem B from the section on solving equations with powers and roots. And I'll have you look at this equation. There's not as much going on as deciding what's inside and outside, because if you remember, we always work from the outside in. But what is going on are these fractions, and I put this on here because I'm guessing that the fractions might cause you a little bit of anxiety, and I want you to keep getting comfortable working with fractions so that we can get really familiar with them and be confident with them. If we look at this problem and we see inside and outside, I see the last thing to interact was this fraction, the minus 3/2. So that's going to be the first thing that I get rid of. I'm going to get rid of this 3/2, and I'm going to do this by adding 3/2 to both sides. So I add 3/2 to both sides, and on the left, I'll get a 1/5 x cubed, and on the right, I get whatever comes out when I take 13/8 and add 3/2 to it. This might be challenging for you, so let's go do it with a little bit of space over here on the right. So let's just add 13/8 to 3/2. Now, what's the golden rule when you're adding fractions? The golden rule of adding fractions is always find a common denominator. The reason is, if you think of this, this is some object that's been split into 8 parts, and this is some object that's been split into 2 parts. And in order to add objects together, they have to be the same. They have to be of the same type or of the same pieces. So let's make them of the same type. It looks like 8 is a reasonable type, and so this becomes 13/8. And now this is going to be eighths also, but we have to multiply the bottom by 4, so we have to multiply the top by 4. And so that gives us 4, 8, 12 eighths for that section. And now when you see they're of the same type, and so we have 13 of those eighths, and we have 12 of those eighths, and so that means we have 25 total eighths. And so our solution is 25/8. So let's come back to our problem and write 25/8 as our result. If I look now, I see this equation, and I have a cubed, and I have a 1/5, and what I want to get rid of next is the 1/5. One option is to divide by 1/5. I'm going to do a different option. I'm going to multiply by 5. Notice writing a fraction 1/5 is the same as dividing by 5, so I'm going to multiply by a 5 to undo that. If you said divide by 1/5, it would be the same thing. Because notice when you divide, you flip and multiply, so you'd get the exact same result. But what I'm going to do is multiply both sides by 5. This 5 and this 1/5 become 1, giving us just x cubed on the left. And on the right, I have 25/8, but I have 5 of them. So now I used to have 25 of these things. Now I have 5 times 25 of these things. And 5 times 25 is 125/8. Now that I have x cubed equals 125/8, there's only one thing left to undo, and it's the cubed, and we undo a cube with a cube root. And so this is going to get us to our final result. Our final result is x equals, well, you have to know your cubes to get through this problem, but these aren't hard ones. These are ones that are fairly familiar. 125, well, you'll notice 125 is 5 times 5 times 5. You'll see that in how it was created. We had 25, which is 5 squared. We multiplied one more 5 to it. So it's 1, 2, 3 5s are multiplied together to give 125. So 5 is the number that we have in the numerator. We also have to take the cubed root of 8, which is in the denominator, and 8 is simply 2 times 2 times 2. So we have 2 times 2 times 2, we have 3 2's. So 8 is the same as 2 cubed, so we take the cubed root of 8, we get 2. This gives us our result of x equal to 5/2.